In verse 45, Jesus continued, "Do not think that I shall accuse you to the Father. It is Moses who accuses you, on whom you set your hope. If you believed Moses, you would believe me, for he wrote of me. But if you do not believe his writings, how will you believe my words?" If the present times seemed hard and poor for the average Jew, then they remembered God's great works in the past, and the holy men of ancient times were their comfort. This was especially true of Moses. They counted Moses as their chief treasure and protector and the basis of their boasting before God. They thought, if we obey the laws of Moses, we have full assurance that we have served God. They therefore thought they were certain of heaven because they were Moses' disciples. For this reason they rejected Jesus, because they thought they needed no other master than Moses alone. But Jesus took this false comfort away from them. He said, "Do not think that I shall accuse you to the Father. It is Moses who accuses you, on whom you set your hope." It was well and good that they hung their hopes on Moses and boasted of him as their Holy One and their Master. But to believe all his words, and to allow themselves to be grasped by his words, to submit themselves to his words and be guided by them, this they had not done, nor were they willing to do so. Had they truly believed Moses, then they would have had God's word in themselves, and the love of God would be motivating them, and they would recognize in Jesus the one whom Moses wrote about. Verse 47, "But if you do not believe his writings, how will you believe my words?" God, through Moses, had clearly prophesied of a coming one who, like Moses, had God's word in him, and whoever would not receive that one and his word would be cut off from God's people. Deuteronomy chapter 18, verses 15 to 20. But this they ignored and refused to see in Jesus the one Moses had written about. If they take only some of Moses' words to heart and neglect others, what chance is there that they will believe Jesus' words? So Jesus said, "Not I, but Moses will be your accuser before God." In these words and those preceding them, Jesus laid out before the leaders of Jerusalem all the claims and credentials of the Messiah. To be sure, he intentionally did not call himself the Messiah, but he demonstrated from the Scriptures that he had all the credentials and the qualifications of the Messiah. If the leadership believed their own Bibles, they would have recognized in Jesus the fulfillment of the prophecies. However, instead, by rejecting Jesus, there was a widening gulf between them, the God who had sent his Son into the world. Sadly, John has reiterated what he said in his preface. Jesus came to his own home, and his own people received him not. John 1, verse 11.